So apparently there's an equipment malfunction at Yellowstone yesterday or day before.
I don't know.
I watched that. I watched the one video over and over and over again, and what it looked like to me. If you've ever seen the videos of,
Show it.
the
But yeah, continue.
yeah, like the fighter pilots, the P-51 fighter pilots during World War II, man, once they got done escorting the bombers, they would go, as they were heading back to base, they would look for trouble on the way back. Like they would shoot up trains and shoot up convoys and shoot up whatever they could find on the ground, just looking around, right? And to me, it reminded me of some film that I've seen, because all those guns had cameras on them, back then, or at least a good percentage of them. It reminded me of them shooting up a steam train engine. The way the explosion went up in the air, like, man.
Well,
once that vessel loses its integrity, it tends to make the exact same kind of explosion that we saw at Yellowstone, directed mainly upwards, because obviously it can't explode back into the ground. I mean, it could, but, only to a certain degree. And then it was white, which is steam and hot water, and then black, which is, it's either manganese or, just black sand that's accumulated inside whatever. But that
seems
manganese,
like dirt to me. You don't think it was brown?
no, it looked black. It looked really
Pretty
black
dark.
to me. Yeah, it was definitely dark color, but to me it looked black. I mean, it could be my color settings. I'm a bit colorblind, so maybe.
Oh, it could be all sorts of stuff. They could have edited the video.
Sure. What's amazing to me is the people that had kids, they just started running. They didn't try to grab the kids or nothing. They just ran on there. It says something about the character of those people.
Oh, dude, people sell their kids out constantly. It's like basically one of their favorite things to do.
Yeah.
Dude, I was raised by a single mother, and
Right.
so I have no fucking respect for her at all. All right, I'm going to go ahead and present my screen, and let's go over
ahead.
these motions.
Yep.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah, go ahead, man. We're live.
Okay, so I've spent about 10 minutes on this total so far, and this is what I've come up with. I have these several motions created, and the problem with these is that they don't have all the information that this one has, and so I just kept working on this one, adding information. And now that I have, a better final, it's still a rough draft, I'd call it, but a better final, then really I want to just wait until I'm done adding things in, and then I'm just going to copy this text that I'm creating here, that me and ChatGPT are creating, and then I'm going to, when I click on these other motions, then I'll just say, use the following text to update this with all the relevant information. And then it'll just bring those ones right up to speed with what we've been doing with this one. So, all right. Case number, request for motions hearing. Kennedy Walker, the defendant in the above captioned case, appearing pro se, and respectfully request that this honorable court schedule a hearing on the defendant's motion to suppress and motion to dismiss with prejudice, both filed on. That needs to be updated when I go to finish it. In support of this request, the defendant states the following. Nature of the case, the defendant is charged with offenses related to the drug war. Purpose of hearing, the defense has filed a motion to suppress and a motion to dismiss with prejudice, challenging the admissibility of evidence and the validity of the charges on the grounds of constitutional violations, including, but not limited to, violations of the 1st, 4th, 6th, 14th, and Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution, and the obstruction of commerce, which infringes upon the defendant's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Warrant issues and lack of evidence. The defendant asserts that the arrest was made without a warrant present, and when a warrant was eventually produced, it appeared to be fraudulent. Specifically, The warrant did not have an injured complainant that made a complaint to the judge. The warrant resembled more of a memo from the judge to the police that the judge signed rather than a legitimate legal document. There is no evidence held by the state that substantiates the charges, further underlining the constitutional violations, including First Amendment. The charges interfere with the defendant's religious practices, violating the defendant's right to freedom of religion. Fourth Amendment. The purported evidence was, which I don't agree there's any evidence, but say they produce a picture or something like that, then either way, that evidence needs to be thrown out. Was obtained without a proper warrant signed by an injured complainant with damages, violating the defendant's right to security and property. The defendant's right to face the accuser is violated as there is no identifiable accuser. Supremacy Clause, Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution, mandates that federal law takes precedence over state laws, which has not been upheld. 14th Amendment, the defendant's right to due process and equal protection under the law are violated. This obstruction infringes upon the defendant's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Oh, obstruction of commerce. Violation of defendant's rights by police. The defendant asserts that the police officers involved thought they had a right to redress their grievances with the defendant, which they do not have. The officers were lawfully trespassed by the defendant and arrested for creating a disturbance. The officers violated the defendant's rights under citizens arrest law to disrupt the defendant's business. These actions by the officers further emphasize the constitutional violations and lack of legal basis for the charges. Pressing states' religion as terrorism. Pressing the state's religion at the barrel of a gun constitutes terrorism. The actions of the police and the state in enforcing laws that conflict with the defendant's religious practices, using threats of force, amount to religious persecution and terrorism. This further underlines the violation of the defendant's First Amendment rights and the unlawful nature of the charges. Need for hearing. A hearing is requested to allow the court to review the arguments presented in the motion to suppress and the motion to dismiss with prejudice, and to make a determination regarding the suppression of evidence and the dismissal of charges, particularly given the lack of substantiating evidence held by the state and the issues surrounding the warrant and the actions of the police officers. Proposed dates. The defendant respectfully requests that the court schedule the hearing at its earliest convenience. The defendant is available on any date, possibly with the exception of medical conditions which are not predictable. Defendant suffers from serious medical problems and has regular occurrences of not being able to get out of the house. Wherefore, the defendant, Kennedy Walker, respectfully requests that this honorable court schedule a hearing on the motion to suppress and motion to dismiss with prejudice, and for such other and further relief as the court deems just and proper. All right, so, where to go from here? Well, let me tell you how I got here. First off, I just came up with some stuff off the top of my head. I spent about 10 minutes using voice to text and just adding information by voice. And this is what it spits out. This is a motion for motions hearing, request for motions hearing. And then this is the most updated one. So all I do is go to the bottom here and hit copy. And then I can go to this. And this one here is labeled motion to suppress. And so when I type down here, which I don't know, can you see that? I'll just say something like...
Dude, you can go ahead and hide that little floater right there that says StreamYard is sharing. Yeah, just hide that.
Yeah, I could. Okay, I will. Use the following text to update this motion. I can type, but like my brain can type, that is. But my body can't. I can't use my hands. So I hunt and peck, basically. Okay, so this one wasn't updated before, and now it's writing me one with the new information. So it's just specifically for to suppress relevant evidence. Grounds for motion. Evidence against the defendant was obtained in violation of the defendant's religious practices. Oh, that needs to say. Oh, okay. It's got another bullet point for that. And then Fourth Amendment, right to be secure in their property. So there were no warrant signed by an injured complainant with damages. You notice how it's a little bit different. It's got similar points.
Right.
But it's specifically, this is just a motion to suppress. And so, I'll just put that in with the request for motions hearing. So here's a motion to compel discovery. And I can type the same thing here and update that. And I need to get that one off probably first. Okay. I think that's it, though, basically. Just real quick.
Good deal.
It's like you get the information together. You think about everything that you can imagine. And then, personally, I had to upload 3 videos that I was behind on. So, since I didn't remember exactly what happened in them, I had to watch them again. While I was watching them, I was like, oh, yeah, I could use that in my motion. So I just pause the video, click over, and just say, yeah, let's make sure and add this point in. And then it just does it. And so, I mean, look, with a motion, with motions that extensive, and then, you request the motion hearing where the judge has to rule on it. It's based on Article 6. The courts are bound, all judges are bound to it. It lists Article 6. It says that. I mean, no matter what, I have appeal grounds, even if they rule against me. Which I'll just win in trial anyway.
Oh, yeah, if you don't, if they choose to violate their oaths, which, I would, if it were me, I would go ahead and FOIA the oaths of office of the prosecutors, right. All of them, and the judge that you're going to have to see. Every single judge that could possibly be right. In that courthouse. Any judge that's attached to that facility. Get the oaths of all of them, man. That's what I would do, and print them out and take them to court and
then
send
subpoena them. And then subpoena these people and get them on the stand and ask them if that's their signature on this oath of office. Right?
Yep. Because if they swear an oath to the Constitution, that's legal and binding, man. I mean, it's not a quaint pleasantry like like all these people think everything is just quaint. That's not the case. That is just not the case.
Oh, I've got this guy in my comment section right now. And if I cite a law, then what he says is, oh, that's not what the Fourth Amendment is. That's not what the Supremacy Clause is.
Yeah, they're reading what they want to read.
No, dude, there's something else going on here. They're socialists, man. There's 50 million of them in this country, and they're like hooked onto our fucking neck like a leech.
Yeah, they're leeches,
sucking
man.
Blood from us, and they need to keep this scam going.
Yep, and they pay people to get on here and fuck with people like us.
That's their livelihood. They are already paid not to fuck with us, but because they're socialists. So they're all in this
criminals,
together, man. And they're all on a team. And people are
La
just...
Cosa Nostra. This thing that we have, except it's not the mob, it's socialism.
Yeah.
We'd probably be better if the mafia was running the country.
Well, it's one way or another, it's the same type of shit. It's extortion, racketeering. It's all the same crimes.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have a free society right now. And there's tons of people that are truly just on board with this concept. Oh, I asked you. I asked you not to do something, so that means now you're bound to that. These people are so weird because they're the same ones that will say, sovereign citizen, how ridiculous.
And then they unknowingly claim that they're sovereign citizens over us.
Right. Oh, well, I asked him to leave. Yeah, this isn't your park, dumbass.
That's where That's where Paul would say, these people are lacking in discernment. That's discernment. Understanding that the people that are raving about everybody else being sovereign citizens are, in fact, delusional enough to think that they're the kings of everyone else. When all we're saying is we're the sovereign of ourselves.
It's such a nonsensical point. Because
it really is,
all
man.
I ask them is, who's the king? Name
and
the
there
king.
is no king. Yeah,
well
there is
then
no
guess
king.
what? I say I'm the king, and I say that I make up the fucking definition of what a sovereign citizen is. And since you're not a king, and no one you know, what? The president? That's a public servant. That's not the king? Who's the king? There isn't a king, dummies. That's the point of America. Duh. How do people not know that? What?
Yeah, I don't even know what they're talking about most of the time. It's insane.
Well, if you look online, you can find the citizenship test, and it is totally preposterous.
Of course it is.
It's all irrelevant. How many congressmen are there? Bro, look, as an American, when the fuck has that ever mattered to you?
Never.
Exactly. So why the hell would that be on the citizenship test to live in the country? That's so...
Well, politicians, man, just like my I don't know if you saw my little video that I made earlier. It was just, I watched that video and I was so pissed off because I didn't see it. I must have missed it. How ridiculous is it for these fucking socialists to bitch at other socialists because they let another socialist almost get shot through the eyeball and deleted? How ridiculous is that? They're all on the same side. It's got to be theater, man. It's got to be theater. And the look on that woman's face is the same look that we get from pigs all over the country, man. It's that disdain. They hate each other as much as they hate us, at least in the theater of public opinion. Behind closed doors, they're shaking hands and going, man, that was great. What a great photo op. People are just going to eat that shit up like it's pudding. That's what I think. It's all preposterous. It's all ridiculous nonsense, man.
Yeah. Anything that the news puts out there is just a play. They suck. They're liars about everything. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a bit much. Everything, but still, I mean, shit. As soon as they become serious, it's just like the cops. As soon as they have to arrest their friend, that oath means nothing. Couldn't mean less.
Yeah.
It's the only thing they're not going to do. And that's why the Bible says not to swear oaths. Obviously. Because for one thing, it doesn't work. For two, it just becomes a club, essentially.
Of course it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's the just us system. It's the same thing that you talk about in your book Treason, which everybody needs to get. If you don't have it already, get it. It's good. Although it does need a little bit of it needs a little bit of proofing. I mean, it's a good book. It's not boring. Let's face it, it's not Clive Barker. It's not fiction. It's all facts. It's not just opinion. It's factual. It's an instruction manual on how not to get bamboozled by these nonsensical socialists that have infested our country, from a dude who checks parking meters all the way up to the presidency. They're all fucking socialists, and they're all in this big club. Like the videos where they show, an auditor being assaulted by, JQ Public, who's a socialist supporter. The cops are standing right there, and they witness it, and they just kind of go, "What do you want us to do about it? What do you want us to do about it?" Well, how about taking my complaint and arresting that motherfucker?
Yeah, or I'll arrest him myself, and I'll transfer custody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Let's swear out a complaint.
Brett, did you not see the beginning of this?
No, he just popped in, I think.
Oh, dude.
Or he's been lurking.
Probably just go back to the beginning where we went over motions and pop in and let's talk about it. We'll be here. You can go back and come back up.
Yeah, Jonesy, you don't need to correct yourself, man. We know what you're saying. We're not going to troll you just because you miss a U or something, dude. We get it. It happens. Anyone that trolls over typos,
Oh, I forgot to.
it is just a garbage golem. So don't worry about it. None of you guys need to worry about it. Not in the chat anyway. And you're filling out paperwork, you want to make sure that it's all good. Of course, when you're writing up motions or writing up criminal complaints or whatever, you want to make sure everything's spelled properly. Of course.
Yeah, just go back and watch that. Hopefully you're already doing it and you can't even hear what I'm saying. But
yeah, man, just watch like the first 5 or 8 minutes of the live, and you'll have the answer to your question. And then you can come in. We'll
we're talking
shoot
about
the
high
link out
level,
there, and you can come in and talk about it.
seriously high level stuff here. So we got some answers.
Well,
Did that work?
Kennedy has some answers. What I got is 3 bolts out of 6 on my mechanic's job that I'm working on. That's what I got. But it's amazing to me that GPT can actually make up, cogent motions out of what you give it with just a little bit of tweaking.
Oh, that question's not answered when I invoke all those laws. Bro, you didn't watch it or you don't get it or some damn thing. Come on.
Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and bring him on and see what he's got to say.
Yeah, whatever. Sure.
But let's keep it.
What was this question? Do I believe in any laws?
No, the
The
question
answer
was
is that the laws are what's defined under Article 6, the Supremacy Clause. So those are the laws. And then, what was the other part of his question? Do I believe in them or something?
Here, let me get it back up.
Do I believe any rule of law works? Let's see. Yeah, I do. You invoke your rights. You explain to them things like the Supremacy Clause, the 14th Amendment, and the 10th Amendment also has a little reminder of the Supremacy Clause in it. You just keep reminding them of these different points until you have appeal grounds, essentially. And the judge realizes when he takes a look at this that I'm going to have appeal grounds on something no matter what. He knows that. So those are the rule of law aspects that work, and it's got to be you that invokes them, though. It's like Terry v. Ohio, man. Somehow a case that was about First Amendment, right to assemble. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Fourth Amendment, securing his property. Fourth Amendment, securing his person, unless the cop has a warrant. That's the reason. Savage, I think your sound just crackled out.
All right, here comes Jonesy. Now, let's let's turn on the etiquette light and the protocol light. Let's not scream and yell, and let's not be dicks. Basically, let's talk about it.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, man?
How's it going?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to scream and holler right now. The fam, my cousin was beaten on the wall the last time.
So would you like to respond to what I just said about what rule of laws would work or do work?
Well, I mean, it's just basically the question for me was, do you believe that any at all actually work?
Not on their own, certainly. Sometimes
Right.
people do get these appeals. Sometimes I don't know how it happens. I don't get it, really. But
Yeah.
some lawyer makes a point or some shit. I don't know what it is, but that's the thing is someone's got to. We have an adversarial legal system, which means that we have a prosecutor that is like our enemy, and we can, like, everybody in the room can expect your enemy to do everything that they can, right? And and then I'm expected to do everything I can to them, right?
Yeah,
within the law.
unfortunately.
Within the law.
Right. It's an unfortunate situation where you're literally defending yourself, meaning that you're literally having to prove your innocence. It's crazy, right?
Well, right, but if you invoke that you don't need to prove your innocence, then now you start having appeal grounds, whereas you wouldn't if you don't say that stuff.
Right, you have to say the words, right?
It
you
has
have
to
to
be
actually say the words.
In the transcript, so because that's what the court is going to look at, and if you're over there invoking your rights, just like how Chili invoked his First Amendment right, and eventually he got an appeal on First Amendment, didn't he?
On the words that he said, exactly. Yep. It's the words, really, because, and basically since I had, my legal troubles, I started, reaching out to, the different avenues to research the problems within the law and the legal bounds and all that, the court systems, the police systems and all of that. And I've gone down this rabbit hole far enough where I've kind of, in my own personal belief, I've kind of come to the conclusion of what I think it is. And, I, of course, had that good conversation with Doc Savage here, earlier last week, I think it was. And, we discussed a lot of different problems that, there's all sorts of problems. And when it comes to the actual rule of law, personally, what I've determined is that 1776, the Declaration of Independence, personally, for me, is the foundation. Now, for some people, it's the Constitution.
Article 6 says it's this Constitution.
Right.
So while you could cite it, it would be like citing a case precedent. You can do it. You can also cite the Bible.
Right.
But
yeah.
It's not citing the law.
Yeah. Well, and to your point on that, when it comes to the law, the codes, right? The U.S. code, or in the states that we live in, the statutes, or even the county, the ordinances, anything that's passed, right?
Your defenses are going to be the amendments. And then there's federal laws. They'll call them like code, like a treason has a code for it. Deprivation of rights under law has a code. But your defenses are going to be probably the amendments. Or later on, there are federal laws that you can use as your defense, such as the 1964 Civil Rights Act that prevents them to discriminate against you for race, color, creed, gender, age. Is that it? And then that's
disability,
even,
I think, is in there too.
Oh yeah, that's probably in there. Or that might be ADA Act. But anyways, you could use that. You could also use that's in private property too, as long as it's open to the public. So if you're in the mall and they're like, you're trespassed, this is private property, we don't want you filming. Oh, well, it's my religious right to go ahead and exercise my constitutional rights. Ha 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 ha.
Yep.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And that's, I've tried to explain that to some people, your rights don't just stop because you're on somebody's property, as you're being trespassed, you're told to leave.
Yeah, if
you
it's
just
open
film
to
as
the
you
public,
leave.
if it's open to the public, they're bound to the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So that means that recently with the masks, they were trespassing people for not wearing masks, but actually that's a violation of your religious right because they want you to wear what is it called? A hijab or what is it called?
A burqa.
Burqa.
Right.
And then you don't want to.
I love it.
I don't believe in their fucking story time shit. So that's my religion. I just don't. Including fucking volcanoes and what happened with these geysers? I don't believe anything these people say. Also, I think jet engines are probably 0-point energy where they're actually combusting oxygen. I believe everything that people say that's contrary, because guess what? You find some military guy that was in the Air Force, and what's he going to say about the fuel? Oh, that was a separate group of these other guys over here. Everything's partitioned and everything's separate. No one knows anything. Everyone pretends to, but no one really knows what's happening.
One single person doesn't have all the facts.
Not all of them.
Except for maybe a 5-star general or somebody that's on the chief of staff. But then again, they want to keep those people ignorant too.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Look, I was an aviator when I was in the military. I ended up getting screwed, blued, and tattooed, right before the Gulf War broke out.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been around a lot of planes, man. And you know what goes in those tanks? They're pressurized, okay? They have to be pressurized. It's liquid oxygen.
Right.
They do put what they call JP whatever. It's jet fuel.
Jet fuel. Yeah.
But all it is it's fluff. That's all it is, man. It's to make sure that somebody sees something when you're taking off, that black belching, and it smells like diesel. Kerosene and diesel have the exact same smell when they're burnt, like that.
Right. Yes. They're basically, it's the same thing. Yeah.
And
there's two options,
I agree.
basically, as I see it. Either one, they use very little fuel, possibly Jet A, possibly option 2, Jet A is a total fucking hoax, and all it is compressed air. At the airport, that's what they use to start these 747s and stuff, is they'll hook it into a compressor, a tank with a compressor on it, and that's how they get them going. So there's the two options: very little fuel or no fuel at all, essentially. And here's their story with this fuel: is that there's fucking tons and tons and tons of fuel on these super carriers, like a Galaxy. Is that what the big one is?
I couldn't tell you. Not now. I couldn't tell
Galaxy
you.
Or something like that.
I don't know anything about
that'll
that's
carry
Air
a
Force.
fucking anything. Well, they're saying there's so much weight in these wings that for aluminum cross beams and shit to hold it, it's as ridiculous as 9/11, where a tin can fucking took down a steel building. It's all the same shit. We probably shouldn't really get into much of it, but back to the law, though.
There's fact and then there's fiction. And we live in a world where a lot, like you say, man, probably most of what we hear and read in books is bullshit. It's Matrix pap. It's pap, and pap is just another word for artificial flavor or artificial.
Like you said, fluff.
Yeah, it's fluff, just like the jet fuel. I can tell you right now for sure that that's the case with jet fuel. There's more liquid oxygen in those tanks than there is JP5 or whatever the fuck they're calling it now. I'm talking, I was in 35 something fucking years ago, so they're calling it something different now. But anyway, it's basically just high octane kerosene. In quotation marks, when really all it is kerosene. There's no
high octane. Yeah.
No, there's no
It's got additive.
Listen, in JP5, there is no explosive chemistry in that fuel. There's none. There's none. It's combustible. That's it.
Right.
It's flammable.
This connects to what we were talking about with that Yellowstone video. You should pull that up.
Absolutely.
You should pull that up, because here's what I want to say about combustion versus being flammable. What you just mentioned. That it's kind of like if you have black powder on the table and you set it on fire, it'll sparkle up, but it's not gonna poof and blow all the. Okay, and it's because once you put it in the barrel and jam it down, then now you've got compression there, and it becomes an explosive situation. And I think that's what we're looking at with the Yellowstone thing, where they've got it some sort of burner down at the bottom, pressure built up on it. So this place isn't a geyser; it's next to the geysers, like quarter mile down the road or something like that. I've been
Yeah,
there, but
yeah.
it's been when I was a kid, and it's like a hot pond, I believe. Just it's got crazy color, like coral type lichen stuff, or I don't know what the hell it is, moss or whatever, different colors and shit going on.
Yeah, it's algae and different chemicals, different minerals that they coalesce at a certain temperature and they make these ring formations and all that. I've seen pictures of it. I've never been there, but I'm
it's
familiar with it.
Typical hot springs kind of thing
Well,
going on, like a
yeah.
volcanic thing.
It's
yeah.
a pretty strange biome, certainly.
It really is. Most definitely. Okay, here we go. Check this out.
It's the earth making itself.
All right, can we share this, or is that going to screw something up, or what?
I'm working on it.
Maybe if we just do the part where the explosion is, instead of listening to all their excuses, because
No, we're
the
not-
Forest
yeah, we're not
Service has
listening.
a bunch of stories about how this is totally normal to have just some shit blow up. In
Yeah, of course,
Yellowstone, that's
of
normal.
course.
That's a normal thing.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything
Well,
from
I-
what you're talking about, so it'd be pretty cool to see what you're talking about.
He'll have it here in a second. I
Let me
personally
just
think
download it.
I personally think that it's like something like these geysers are bullshit, and there's just there's a boiler, and once it builds to a certain amount of pressure, then it releases, and that's why Old Faithful changes time.
Right.
It's because it's getting older and like things aren't working the same as when it was
It's
designed.
not the same as it used to be. That's right. Yeah. And it kind of brings me to the point of what I was kind of referring to when I was asking the question too. So when I say rule of law, I don't necessarily mean within man's concept. So like physics, right? There's laws of physics. And we know that those laws work, right? Basically, you're going to jump. If you jump, you're going to, land back on your feet. You're going to be pulled back down to the earth.
But
the basic
not if
laws
you're
of
in
physics.
water, right?
Right. Yeah. So those laws, we know that works. And that's basically just called natural law, right? Laws of nature, physics,
Yeah,
that sort of
I
thing,
would-
right?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's why when I look at the foundation personally, that's why I say natural law. When I look at the Declaration of Independence, I literally see those words. And I don't want to get away from that. When it comes to the Constitution, even though it is part of the foundation, it's basically like the foundation is the Declaration of Independence. And then as the country gets built up, the walls become the Constitution for me. That's the way I see it. I don't want to get rid of the Constitution
That's
itself
not what
either.
Article 6 says. Article 6 in the Constitution, which was ratified by the states, as opposed to the Declaration, that didn't go through a ratification process. That's not the law. So the states chose to make the law, and it's the Constitution. And they said in it, in this Constitution are the supreme laws of the land, right here. So you could cite something from the Declaration or something, but you really want to just stick with actual laws, and there's no problem with that, because if you just watched my motion, then, I mean, don't you see how I mean, really, even though Terry v. Ohio, that case, the lawyer sucked, still, one violation is enough that should have got him exonerated. It didn't. Okay. And that's why my motion has, 8 or whatever. And it's it's still not finalized. I still have things that I need to consider and think about and improve upon it. And then, but we've got enumerated rights. You can't cite natural law. You can cite the enumerated rights. And since the Supremacy Clause declares them the supreme law of the land, like from a legal point of view, that's a done deal. There's no other way around it. I mean, it even says specifically, even states' laws notwithstanding. So no matter what a state comes up with.
Well, the problem that I have with not Declaration of Independence, if we're not an independent nation, as the Declaration of Independence declared us free from the bounds of England, and Britain, I should say, excuse me, Britain, if we're not free from them, then all our laws are subject to them. So we have to be independent, and we have to be declared independent. Either that or our Constitution would be bound to the British rule.
The Constitution is a thing that you are taking part in willingly.
Right. Everything else is coercion. Unless it is in line with the Constitution, it's coercion. I'm having problems, man. I think YouTube has figured out how to fuck me out of being able to download videos because they're coming in this weird format that.
Well, just share your window on your browser, and then
it's not letting me do that either. They've changed something, so I can't do it. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but it won't let me just share a certain tab from the browser. I don't want to share the whole screen. I got things going on that nobody else needs to see. That I guess I could just close. Yeah, I could do that.
It doesn't matter that much. You can just come back to the conversation. We're back to the law now. That's the important topic here. You have so many rights that those are the things that make you free. You're not bound to the Constitution like it's a chain. You're like uplifted by it, like it's a cloud that's keeping you out of the muck. So that when they claim that they've accused you of a crime, like with me, they claim they've accused me of a crime, but the crime they've accused me with is null and void. It's repugnant to the Constitution. No, that's not the law. That's Marbury v. Madison. It's case precedent. But it informs from Article 6, the Supremacy Clause, that it lines up. So that's a correct interpretation. We can trust an interpretation like that. Whereas Terry v. Ohio, we can't. We just look at it and they change these words, reasonable articulable suspicion. Well, that's not in our law. Our law is the Fourth Amendment.
Right. And that's why that case has to be overturned.
No, it's already... Anything repugnant to the Constitution is null and void already.
And I understand that. So what the Supreme Court needs to do is recognize that, but you have to bring it before that.
No, you are going to just defend yourself, and then it's just going to naturally be overturned. Honestly, I've defeated the drug war with that motion that I just showed you. I don't even have to work on it more. It's already... The drug war is over with, and I'm the one that did it. And it's with this.
Yeah, you're not gonna find a more tenable defense other than the drug war is treason, and it is treason.
But you can't beat the ride, right?
Well, I was in jail for 26 hours, and yeah, they got me sick in there. They tried to kill me in there. But here's the deal: is once we get everyone understanding that they don't seize us unless they have a warrant signed by a judge based on an injured complainant's sworn statement of damages, not a complainer, a complainant.
Right, somebody who puts their money where their fucking mouth is and swears that what they say is true. And if it's found to be not true later, then they're the one whose nuts are going to be in the fire.
Right. Then I'm the complainant against them because they swore, a statement against me, and it was perjury. It's sworn to under penalty of perjury. So one of us has to go to jail at this point,
So we do know one thing, though, that basically the laws, the statutes, the policies that are connected to the Terry stop type of policing, which is actually further back than that even, because when Doc Savage, when Doc Savage and I were sitting discussing these things, we discussed all the way back to the Vidal style policing, where they married the investigator to the arresting officer. Were you able to see about that at all?
Well, cops don't determine probable cause. Judges do.
Right.
And
right.
so
Yeah,
that
they're
means
they're not qualified to do that.
This belief that a cop sees you go 10 over the speed limit and now he's got probable cause, that's wrong. This belief that he smells weed and now he's got probable cause, no, that's wrong. This belief that a dog smells something and has probable cause? No, all that's wrong. It's all under sworn affirmation
Supposed to be.
to a judge.
Supposed
No,
to
no,
be.
no. That's the law. That is the law. It's the supreme law of the land. Article 6, the Supremacy Clause declares it the supreme law of the land, all states' laws notwithstanding. So no matter what anyone comes up with, that's the law. No seizure without a warrant.
And I do understand what you're saying, that the law is null and void. The statute is null. It's void. It's not a real law because it's not supposed to be there. However, it is codified.
No,
It does exist. It's there.
you go to court just like in that motion I just showed you. And that's what you
And
do.
you show why that law doesn't apply.
Right.
I get
And
it.
then now what do you have? You have malicious prosecution. Okay.
Right.
You can go multiple ways, but honestly, what do you want? Probably just get paid at this point, right? So
I mean,
civil lawsuit at that point, it's a guarantee.
I'd rather not. I'd rather not get paid because I don't want to take the ride.
Well, that's really invoking your rights in the beginning. And the thing is, I did that in my case, and they didn't arrest me. And then later on, I arrested a lieutenant here. Nice, good, clean arrest for disrupting my business.
Now, did you take him into custody and take him
no,
downtown?
no, I don't.
Well, then you didn't really arrest him because
yeah, I
the word
did.
is arrest.
Oh, right. It's just a verbal citizen's arrest.
Right. So it's not even a detainment. It's not
Well,
a real arrest.
The word is seizure. And he
you
was
might have
legally
served him.
seized. He was legally
served him.
He was legally seized, but he wasn't physically seized.
Right. So the arrest didn't take place.
No, it's a seizure.
I'm sorry.
It's a seizure, and he was
I
legally.
mean, I'm not trying to offend you, but that's not an arrest.
Okay, but
The
arrest
word
isn't
arrest.
right. But the word arrest isn't in our laws. Okay, the word seizure is.
Right. Same thing.
Okay, it's
Seizure,
not the same
detainment,
thing.
arrest.
Otherwise, you'd be using the word from our laws, which is seizure.
Arrest, detain. Why is detainment
It's
the same thing as arrest?
The word is seizure.
or
That's the legal term. It's in the
Right.
Fourth Amendment.
Right. So
So-
you never seized him.
I legally seized him, and I did not physically seize him.
Right. Right. So,
Yeah, he's been arrested though legally.
I mean, to have a
he's
all have-
arrested. Hey, look,
to
man,
have a-
he's arrested. Just because you don't clap hands on him and drag him in front of a judge doesn't mean he ain't arrested.
Honestly,
that is what it means.
No, he's just guilty of resisting arrest. That's all. And escape. I charged one cop with that too.
Well, then he's a fugitive. He's a fugitive.
He is a fugitive.
Has he ever showed for court?
No warrant has been issued. Oh,
Right. So then
bro,
the judge is also a fugitive.
I'm not saying that these people are good people. I'm
Right.
saying we have a law. This is what it is. So
So-
you can be in denial of it. You can
Well, I'm trying to get down to, okay, now, what you're saying is that these people have broken the law.
Yeah, they're
including the judges, right?
They're absolutely all criminals.
Prosecution, the defend.
I'm not
def-
just saying
defenders.
it. I'm not just saying it. I've sworn to it.
Yeah. So why is it that they can't be held accountable?
Well, they can be. I just need to get the paperwork and shit, really.
I
I've been
mean-
going easy on these guys, actually.
Paperwork's not going to get it done, right?
Yeah, you
Well,
wanna
it
bet.
will. Yeah, it will.
Once it gets up to a Fed who gets a hair in his ass, you know that's what it is. You get it up to a high enough court, the judge, who may not actually be a socialist, he
Circuit
might
court.
be a real American.
Right.
He will look down on those other judges
Mm-hmm.
and point his finger and raise up that gavel and hit them with it.
Right.
It can happen. It has happened. But we're not going to, dude. Jonesy. We're not going to hear about it because
Mm-hmm.
who's in charge of the press? Socialists, criminals.
So let me put it this way. If it's a quote unquote Terry stop, which is an illegal arrest, right?
The word
And you-
seizure.
Okay. Terry stop because of the case,
It's a seizure without a warrant.
and you take that case that you were seized under their fake law policy, their fake law policy. You take that to the next up court, which is the state, then up to the circuit.
Why
and
would
you lose
you-
that as well?
What you're
What if
going
you
to
lose that?
all
if you lose them?
judges are bound to the laws of the United States. It
What
says
if you
so.
lose the case because they're shitty judges? You lose
Well,
those
then
cases. You
you've
lose it in
got
the
all
state.
this. You've got all this
you lose
stuff
it
in
at the
writing.
circuit.
No, you're going to win it at one of them. It can go all the way to the Supreme Court, and as
Right,
long as
all the way to
you've
the Supreme
argued
Court.
it, as long as you've argued it competently, you're going to win. Okay, Terry
if
v.
you bring
Ohio lost because it was not argued competently for one thing, but also there's a political problem where those justices wanted
Oh, I agree
to
with
do
that. Yeah,
something.
absolutely.
But then there's recourse
They're
for that.
federalists.
Right. They're big government liberals, leftists.
Yeah. Yep. Social federalists.
Just left.
Social federalists.
Any
Yes.
government spending moves you further
just,
to the
just
left.
like Hamilton and all the Chief Justice himself. You know, they're all social federalists. So you take it all the way to the Supreme Court and you say to that court that they claim that it's based upon the precedent, right? And you say that it's an illegal seizure, but because you say it and you explain why it's an illegal seizure and they have to make the decision, let's say they have to make the decision, the Supreme Court Chief Justice, you know, he reads the decision and he says, the reason we overturn it is because it's a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment, and that because it's a clear violation under the precedent of that Terry case, we clearly have to overturn the Terry case based on
All right, so-
these facts.
All right.
You see what I'm
You
saying?
would never get to the Supreme Court if you were going to stand under Terry v. Ohio, ever.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Well, maybe.
you're going to object to Terry v. Ohio in your local court, magistrate court, or whatever, probate court. I don't know what the hell it's going to be. A low court. Okay. And then, so the prosecutor's going to say, oh, well, under Terry v. Ohio, officer said it was reasonable. And you're going to object.
Well, if you've got one judge in one county saying it's legal and then the judge in the next county saying it's illegal and it never reaches that higher court,
It's up
it
to
all
you
remains the same.
to tell him what the law is and what you're going to agree to stand under.
Which you shouldn't have to do. You should be able to exercise your Fifth Amendment right. Why should you need
But the thing
to
is,
defend yourself?
because they will convict you on policy if you let them.
Right.
Of course, you have to not let them. You got to slam the door on their fingers, man. That's the whole deal. You got to slam their fucking hands in the door. Right, like when that pig comes to your house and he doesn't have a warrant and you're dumb enough to open the door and he sticks his foot in the door, you slam that foot. And when he pulls it back, you slam and lock that door. And you tell them to get the fuck off your property. They're going to say, oh, it's all. No, you were here illegally because you didn't have fucking warrant. And I told you to leave.
Here's a question.
Same thing.
Here's a question.
Except you're probably going to get bullet holes through your door, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because, pigs are the fucking enemy. They are brigands. They're nothing but costumed fucking criminals running
I would say
amok. That's
use
all they
your
are.
words, because it usually doesn't get to that point immediately. Cops are crazy, though. Sometimes, yeah, they just fucking shoot people. It happens. But the thing is, if we're reminding them over and over again, you don't seize me without a warrant. You don't search me without a warrant. Terry, stop.
might start to
Terry's
get it.
not the law. The law is the Fourth Amendment. Where's your warrant? You're a cop.
Warrant.
You don't
That's
determine
right.
probable cause anyway. Oh,
Not
I
supposed
saw
to.
you doing this or that. That means I have probable cause. No, it doesn't. Oh, the dog gave us probable cause. You can volunteer to stand under that if you want. You can be like, oh, damn, you got me. The dog gave you probable cause. You got me.
Oh, goodness.
Go ahead and
No,
search. You can do that if you want, but I'm saying
But,
don't do that.
The fact is, lots and lots of people, millions of Americans do that every year. They say, "Oh, well, yeah, will you come out here and do these FSTs for me?" Sure. Listen, man, I guarantee you that you could take 20 gymnasts, male and female, and pick 5 of them and subject them to field sobriety tests, and 3/4 of them are going to fail. These are people who are athletically able to balance themselves. I guarantee you they're going to fail because those things are made for failure. They're not made to prove jack shit.
Well, it won't be used to exonerate you. That's for
No, never.
sure.
It's a violation of the Fifth Amendment for sure. You know, because
So-
it's incriminating yourself.
Yeah. So here was
It's
the
made to
question.
incriminate.
Do you see the rights that are enumerated? Do you see them as separate stations altogether, like each individual one, or do you see them as in conjunction with each other?
I'll take this one, man. Look, the amendments that talk about our rights are made to back each other up. Freedom of speech is first because it's the most important thing. If we can't talk, we're not men. The Second Amendment is about weapons and defending ourselves and taking heat to the enemy to defend our First Amendment. The Third Amendment is to make sure that we can't be forced to quarter any enemy combatants.
Right. Which
And,
is in
you know-
conjunction with the second and the first.
That's right, exactly. And then the Fourth Amendment is no seizure, period, without sworn
Right.
testimony.
Which backs up 321.
Exactly. So yeah, you're right, man. It's not sequential, but it is sequential.
Right.
But they can back each other up in all kinds of I could grab my fucking whiteboard and show you ways that all of those different amendments connect with each other.
That's right.
For an hour.
And
And
then there's the Supremacy Clause, which is listed in Article 6, Section 2, and it explains the supreme law of the land. It's also repeated. Oh, and then it binds all the judges, even kangaroo court judges, to
Right.
the law of the United States. And
So
then
they're all
it says,
supposed to-
no matter what the states do, federal law. And then the
Right.
10th Amendment gives states rights, but before it does that, it says
Or
if they're
it's
not
to the people
already
respectively.
if they're
Right.
not already in the jurisdiction under the United States law, which means Supremacy Clause again. And then there's the 14th
Supposed
Amendment. Congress, no, it does, and you have to invoke this stuff. It's your
Thinking courts.
It's your citizenship test. The 14th Amendment
Yeah.
says Congress shall create no laws abridging federally protected rights. So over and over again, it keeps explaining the Supremacy Clause. It gives us a full security on things like, personal choices, like what we speak about, our religion, where we gather, all that stuff. It gives us security in our person and our property, so property rights. And then Fifth Amendment, so we don't have to testify against ourselves. I mean, and then once you
Or
use
double
all
jeopardy.
Sixth Amendment, face your accuser. Holy crap, man. Having an accuser
Yeah.
is a huge part of the check and balance on the justice system, is that there's
Yep,
actually
speedy trial.
someone saying, that guy hurt me. It cost me this. I got a black
Yep.
eye or something.
You get into civil law next, and then you get into the criminal law itself. And then the ninth, which is basically everything else that might be left out.
Right. Anything that
there
we
might be
haven't,
something left.
yeah, everything that we haven't talked about already,
Like internet.
is a right that we have. Anything.
Internet
anything.
is now a Ninth Amendment right.
Now, here's another question. Do you believe that states' powers are necessary?
Yeah, for sure. States are the ones that do things like burglary. Those are state laws. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well,
prevent-
so you're
but yeah.
talking about felonies. Talking about felonies, right?
or well, there's
or
laws.
misdemeanors.
The point is, there's laws. There's ways to hurt people, and they're not all listed in federal codes.
Would it be possible
because-
for counties to do felonies
Well, yeah, but it's on state law.
individually? But I'm saying, would it be possible for each county to write in their own version
Dude,
of felony?
That's what they do basically now, and
right.
you need
The
a higher
sheriff can do it
court.
himself.
You need a higher court to be like, no. this guy's right. He invoked his right. You didn't respect it. You made a ruling on it that was contrary to the law. That means we're overturning your ruling. That's an integral part of it. And
the reason I ask this is because I personally don't see the need for it. Because what it does is it actually gives the governor more power than what he should have. I believe
he's a public
personally
servant. He's still a public servant.
that he shouldn't have that much power.
The governor
He doesn't.
is he's the executive branch. He doesn't make laws. He's the executive branch. He's not.
But he writes policy.
Right. He writes
because
policy.
of states' powers.
Right, but policy is not law. We know this. The only thing, the only people that policy binds are employees of the state. These servants that we're talking about, and they are, that public service means that you're a servant. You're a servant.
Now
They're not bound to it in the same way that you're bound to the law, though, like prison and shit. They're just kind of they
can
have
get
a
fired.
policy. They could get let go.
They can get fired,
Right.
basically, or lose a pension, lose all sorts of benefits that we, the people, actually provide to them.
Possibly
Now-
they could be fired for cause, but then again, they would also have defenses with their government that they can use.
Now, you're a blue collar guy, right? Now, you know that when you get onto a job site, there's the old saying, well, this is how we do it around here, right? And you've heard that probably plenty of times where you go onto the site and it's a different job or a different, wherever. And you're used to doing things this way. And you come into the job and they say, well, I know you probably did things that way at the job that you were at before. And you're doing literally the same exact job. But this is how we do it here. And that's what you get when you have governorship change and policy and power change hands.
It all has to do with us letting them get away with anything.
Yeah, it matters who you put into the position, right? Put the wrong person into the position.
It matters about the populace because they're going to
educated
put
populace,
in a
yeah.
good person if they are good and if they're bad. But the thing is, all the way along the way, the populace can keep these people accountable. You understand, I've arrested personally something like 25 to 30 cops, judges, prosecutors, all sorts of stuff. And the reason that I do it is that I'm following the law, okay? And people need to understand.
Yeah.
They need to understand that our law is not just, like Doc says, a quaint suggestion. It's the law of the land. People can get shot or hung or whatever for not obeying the law. They can go to prison for 30 years. And for some reason, people are like, oh, well, they're wearing costumes, and so that means that they make the law. But no, that's not what it is. We have a law. Honestly, don't even argue with these people. You just put it all in writing. With misdemeanors, I get it. You don't really have motions hearings and stuff. I don't know what they do. It depends on the state.
So this is my question. So you say that there's the law, that the Constitution is the law. Can you tell me?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what Article 6 informs us of.
Article 6.
Yeah.
Article 6 says that the Constitution is the law.
Yeah. Article 6 is the supremacy clause, and it says that this Constitution and the laws of the United States are the supreme law of the land. And then it says...
Wait, hold on. That's not what it says.
Well, read it.
It says the Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. So the Constitution is a separate thing. It's not the law of the land.
No, it says this Constitution and the laws of the United States are the supreme law of the land.
So it's not the law. The Constitution is a like, I'm trying to relate this to you. So, like, for me, I'm a man and I have a constitution. That means I have my balls about me. It's my constitution. You know, that's what it's referencing, that this piece of paper is not the law of the land, that this is just how we affirm what is right, because these are our rights.
No,
That's
it
what a
says
constitution
this Constitution is the law of the land, the supreme
No,
law.
it doesn't say. It does
no,
not
that's what
say
it says.
that.
Yeah, I took out some words, but that's exactly what it says.
Well, then don't take out words and read it.
No, the words are and, not or.
And
So you can just take them all out.
so the Constitution is
Is
not the law.
the supreme law. That's what it says right in front of you. Aren't you reading it?
I just did. Okay, let me read it again to you now.
I just heard you. You just told me this Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
No, it didn't say that.
Go ahead and read
No,
it.
it didn't. It does
Okay,
not say
Go
that.
ahead and read it.
It says this Constitution and the laws of the United States,
Yeah.
which shall be pursuance thereof. That means that they can be changed.
Yeah.
And all treaties made, that means any treaties too,
Yeah.
or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme,
The
law
supreme
of
law
the
of the
land.
land. So, yeah, I got it right.
This Constitution and the laws
Yeah, I know.
of the United States.
You're
so
not-
what that means is that there might be some laws that aren't the same as what the Constitution says.
Well, that's all right. That's
And this-
fine
thi-
because if it violates your constitutional rights, which are the supreme law of the land, then it's not.
No.
Yeah.
This is where I was trying to tell Doc Savage before, is that there is a problem with the structure. That there's 3, even 4 different places where that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence
No.
are all declaring that there is a supreme law. And so we have 3 or 4 different supreme laws. There is a problem with the structure. You can't have 4 supreme laws. You can't have 4 supreme judges. That's the problem.
You
Is
can't.
everybody reads the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence and says, this is the law of the land. But
You're
there's a
saying
problem.
that something else can be unconstitutional. That's what
Yes.
you're saying. But
Yes,
no,
unfortunately.
because now you have a constitutional right.
But that's where the Supreme Court comes in. They're supposed
Okay,
to be
let's
interpreting.
make this more realistic. How about this? Let's make the drug war a federal law instead of right now it's state laws, okay? And those
Mm-hmm.
are clearly subservient, right? We both agree to that right now, right? But if we make it a federal law, then it's going to match your definition of being one of the laws of the United States made in pursuance thereof, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're
that
saying
can be changed.
and so
Yeah.
right, and it could be changed, but then
It's
it's
structure.
still
Unfortunate.
it violates my freedom of religion.
Yes. So we are a country divided
No.
because of this language.
No.
Because of this language.
No,
Yes.
no, this is no.
This is where I personally say, you know what? If the Constitution won't agree in its own language what the supreme law of the land is, then I'm going to revert back to the foundation. That's why I say the Declaration of Independence, because the Constitution cannot agree. There's 3 different supreme laws. There's the Constitution, the laws of the United States, and then the Supreme Court interpreters.
So what? If you have a right to do something, that means you can do it.
Yep.
So who cares if someone else
Well, that's nature,
says no,
right?
because you have the right to do it. And so that's what
That's
you're going to
nature.
say in court. You're going to say, I have a right to do it. And they're going to say, we
And they're
don't
gonna
even
say
have
you
an
don't.
example. We had to make our own example
Yep.
because we don't even have an example of this. Do you have an example?
So there is a problem with the structure. There is a problem. Now, because
I
there
don't
is a
think there's a problem.
problem, it needs to be corrected.
I don't see how there's a problem.
Well, if I look at this sentence, the two problems that I see are the semicolons. First of all,
Go back to it, would you?
Yeah, it's way too much.
Put it back on screen, I mean.
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. All right. Boom. Wait, not that. This. Yeah. This would go.
Yep.
And this would go.
Yep.
Okay, so here, listen. You would have a point in this circumstance. Okay, so you're saying there's three things. There's the Constitution, there's the laws of the United States, then there's treaties. That's three things. Okay.
Oh, and there's a fourth. It's the judges.
No, they're bound. They're bound to the laws.
Right,
Anything in
they're
the
absolutely right. They're tied
Right.
to a
I agree.
to a rock, man.
But Marbury versus Madison.
That semicolon means it's a different sentence, but it's related to this up here.
Right. That's what it means. Yeah. So really, they can stay, but the point is, look, I haven't had a whole lot to say about this because I've studied this sentence exhaustively. Okay, the main subject of this sentence is this Constitution. The secondary subject is the law of the land. Everything else comes after that. Okay, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, which means the laws of the United States have to be in line with the Constitution. Period. End of story. Drop the mic. Get the fuck off the stage. You're done.
Right.
Thereof. Okay. Right. So
let me get back to that. To what I was saying. You're saying that there's three places where a law can exist: the Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties. Okay, so
and the judge.
So here,
judge,
that's
technically
that's not
technically.
No, they're bound to the laws, which are described above the judge part. So you're saying there can be a discrepancy in these laws where the judge doesn't know what he's bound to.
Right.
And I'm saying that only way that would be possible is, okay, we have a First Amendment freedom of religion. Now, if we made a United States law in Congress outlawing religion, okay, now we have a conflict, right? And it's so retarded that it doesn't happen that way, because what they would do is something like a constitutional convention to repeal freedom of speech versus making a federal law. Congress is involved. The whole country, essentially, through representation, is involved in making a law. So for them to make a law that says, it would have to be very specific, and it would have to be exactly contrary to one of these other things in these three bodies that you're claiming. Okay, so it's still null and void, though, because that's what the Supremacy Clause says. That's what the 14th Amendment says. So the 14th Amendment says Congress shall make no laws abridging federally protected rights. So if they have made a law like that, that means at some point they ceased to be a legal Congress. Like the state legislator, when they pass drug war stuff in violation of freedom of property rights and religious rights and right to face accusers and being seized without a warrant and stuff like that, then what was I saying?
Well, let me
null
ask you
and
this.
void, basically.
This is basically the question that arose in Marbury versus Madison. If the Supreme Court did not have the ability to interpret the Constitution or the rights or the laws and whether they're in conjunction with each other, would they be relevant? Would the Supreme Court be relevant?
If they didn't interpret the laws?
Right.
Well, they're the ones that make these rulings, and so that requires some sort of interpretation.
Right.
But the thing is, you got to understand that there's two Americas, okay? There's the one where you walk in and you're Your Honor, do whatever you're going to do to me. And then there's the one where you walk in and you're like, I can't be charged because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this. Like I went through at the beginning of this video with the motions.
It's the test. You're. I know you're spot on. You're actually very much spot on, Kennedy. Yes, you're right. It is the test. It's your statehood test. It's your American
citizen. It's the citizenship
test.
test.
Yeah. Are you an American? Do you know your rights?
Right.
Have you learned the law?
Are you an American? Do you know your rights? Are you going to stand up for them? Or you can go get in your fucking cage and then you can get the fuck out of my country.
Well, I have a question for you. Do you believe that the average 18-year-old knows these things?
Fuck no. They're in the
right?
they're in the school to prison pipeline, bro.
Definitely not a 15 or 16-year-old who also look like an 18-year-old.
That's who I wrote my book for, is really young men, because if I would have read my book when I was a young man, then I wouldn't have had to go through half the shit I've gone through. Bro, they've extorted me and threatened me into so much fucking bullshit.
But here's the thing, Kennedy. How many young men, 18-year-olds, are going to actually sit down and read a thick-ass book?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
that's why we're talking about the...
Right.
It's not a thick book, dude.
I've tried to keep it concise.
Look, man, here's the deal with treason. It is basically a very well thought out Cliff Notes version of how to keep yourself from going to prison and how to learn how to stand up for your rights and who the enemy really is.
Here's another thing that I wanted to mention to you. So the Constitution actually has in it a definition for treason, right? That the statute that it has in the U.S. Code, that's not really a treason statute. The only statute for treason exists in the Constitution, and that was actually the very first time it was used to try someone was during the case of Burr, right? In the early 1800s. Burr was tried under that, and he was actually found not guilty, and he had actually been doing some pretty unscrupulous things. He's the guy who killed Hamilton, right? And they still found him not guilty, even though he had done some crazy things. He didn't have they didn't have the witnesses that really could prove anything, and then also he had never actually levied a real war. Like he did not. Nobody could prove that he intended to levy a war against the United States government.
The drug war, the drug war matches the U.S. Code. We should look at what the definition in the Constitution
is. It's not treason; it's deprivation of rights.
Well, the thing is that it's probably just in line with what the Constitution says. That's my guess.
Well, so because the Constitution actually does define treason,
we should look at it, certainly.
Yeah, it's
let me do that.
Article 3. Article 3, Section 3, I think. Yeah. Yep, Section 3.
Okay. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. So, in other words, without witnesses, which was the case with Aaron Burr,
right,
when he shot Alexander Hamilton, who was, you know why he got shot, right? He got shot because Aaron Burr didn't have any intention of letting him get away with making a centralized banking system in this country. That's why he got shot. That's what it was all about.
Well, the drug war stuff is all a matter of public record. There's witnesses everywhere. Anyway. I'm just saying that the drug war exactly matches both the constitutional definition and the U.S. Code, which Congress would have passed.
Right. And, all of this stuff is really tied to federalism, It's tied
the first
to
part of my book is an explanation of the political spectrum. Left means full government control. Right,
federalist,
all the way right means anarchy, complete anarchy.
Right.
No government control.
No government. Which,
No government control.
I mean,
And they confuse the issue right now with an up-down, but no. Back in like the 20s, that's all anyone would talk about is left-right. And everyone understood it because it made sense. So when you hear Trump saying, well, more big government shit, right? Then you know he's a leftist, regardless of
exactly.
his party. And as long as, if we could get back, see, this is another
they all
citizenship
are.
test. When you go to vote and stuff, if you don't understand the left-right system, like Brian Young, then you shouldn't be voting or anything. But it doesn't matter. This is a republic, which means that we just basically have representatives that vote for us, and their vote matters. Supposedly we vote for them, but through gerrymandering and everything else, who knows?
Well, look, here's I'm a student of ancient history, and when the Greeks actually, the Persepolis were the first republic. They didn't have a constitution or nothing, but they,
Right.
I mean, as far as we know, they didn't. They're
first representative style.
They're the ones that built that Petra city. That's carved into the Persepolis is, and they were a republic. They were the very first one, and then the Greeks found out about that, and they took it, because they weren't stupid. They traveled, the rich ones that were students, they traveled and they learned things, and then they brought them home. And then
Right.
Plato wrote about republic. He wrote a whole fucking book on it. It's not about it's about mob rules. It's mob rules, man. It's not a council.
Well, we have a constitutional republic, which means
It's a little bit different.
So
it's a pretty
this
good
is what I
attempt.
actually can I because this is actually what I call it, because I always like to include the Declaration. I call it natural law based democratic republic with a constitution and a Supreme Court. That's literally like laying it all out.
Oh man, okay.
It's a long one, but it is a republic.
Man, democracy is the bed upon which communism is conceived.
Yes, sir.
Joseph Stalin said that, and if anybody should know, it would have been that motherfucker. Correct me if I'm wrong.
The people are too
Correct me
easy
if
to
I'm wrong.
convince. They don't even need evidence. I have these trolls coming to my channel daily, and every day they're just like, we don't care what the law is. We don't care what the evidence is. They accused you. They're wearing costumes. Bro, and they are going to hold to this until their dying breath. They just, it means so damn much to them.
And I will
They
say this
hate me
about you,
for it.
Kennedy.
They're like, dude, you need to be in a cage. Like,
you
dude, no one even.
You do stand on your rights, Brody. You do, and that's why I decide every once in a while. Yes, I'll be lurking. Whenever you guys throw this stream on, I always try to come over. Now I think I missed the last one, but I caught some of it. Skimmed through it. But I always try to come and check it out. Any good freedom fighters who stand on their rights, especially, I definitely want to come and
Well, I
visit
think
with
now's
and
the
that
time
sort
to
of
check
thing.
it out because we're changing the drug war with that motion I showed at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
So if anybody didn't see that, we just spent about 6 minutes going over it. I've only worked on it about 20 minutes. I still need to work on it another hour or two, probably.
Yep.
Who knows though if I'll get around to that. But
Cross them T's, dot them I's.
Let me just, you should know this, Kennedy. I know you do, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it anyway. Whenever you're putting together anything, if it's words or a car or a building or whatever, at some point it's done. The only thing you can do beyond that is fuck it up. Right, and that's the point, because we all build things, and at some point you stand back and you put your hands on your hips and you start packing up your tools and you go home because the job is done. There's nothing, and you make sure that all of your
Stop
helpers
shaving the stinking stucco away,
Yeah, you make sure that your helpers have all their tools packed up, because anything further that they do is just going to fuck shit up. But Kennedy, man, bro, I'm so glad that I found your fucking channel all them months ago and that we're doing this. I don't. I wish that we had, we could reach a more broader audience. But you know what, man? You're absolutely right when you say these people on the internet, they just want to look at nonsense. I got sucked into this. I saw this short and it said something about boobies, and I'm like, I thought about Kennedy. It was a nice looking girl, and she was talking about, boobies were in the title. So I thought about Kennedy real quick, and I was like, let's go see what this nonsense is. So I opened it. And it's this girl blathering on about these little, they're TPE rubber, basically, and you stick them on, over parts of your body that are lumpy or whatever to sculpt yourself without plastic surgery, right? And she was using them to cover up her nipples, blah, blah. 475,000 views, and the bitch only had 11,000 subscribers. So you're absolutely right, and I gave it a view, just because I thought about you. I've seen all the boobies I ever need to see in life. Honestly, if I never see another one, I'm good. I'm good. In my mind, I can make a picture of the perfect boobie, and hold on to that. But anyway, I know I'm ranting and raving and shit, but I think that your idea with the Chat GPT is a great thing, and I think that it actually works.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I just use that one bit of text to have it write out all the motions I want for suppressing evidence. I don't even have a discovery yet. So one thing I got to do is force them to produce the discovery. When I did my request for the discovery, it was like full of my opening line. Oh, I want the state to provide evidence that I'm going to use it against you in criminal prosecution for crimes such as treason, domestic terrorism, down to official oppression, even disorderly conduct, like I have already accused your star witness, Esplin, of. I reported that crime directly to this DA. And 6 months later, now this guy's the star witness. I mean, bro, if they even take this shit to trial, it's going to be a shit show. Subpoenaing all these people, asking them about their oaths, asking them how they're upholding their oaths in any way.
Well, John Felix, that's kind of the same thing with him. And then you got Travis Hines, kind of the same thing with him. When they go in there, Brody, it's the same thing. It's like, it's not an intent to bog the system down necessarily, but it's like, if you really want me to go through every detail, then
ideally just get it all in writing beforehand so that it's clear. And when an appeals court is going through it, it's like, dude, it's bullet pointed, and just like what I showed at the beginning of this video, where it's like, dude, no appeals court can really look at this and be like, there's no grounds for appeal. That's the one thing they can't say. They can't possibly come up with that because they're bound by Article 6 to the laws of the United States and right
to the Constitution,
and the treaties.
And that goes to the point of what I did ask, and I think you have basically cleared it up. I just need more, declaration than the average guy. I'm kind of slow
I
on
think
the
it's
take.
great. I thought everything you brought was really good, and that you clear a lot of things up, and that's why I do these shows like this instead of some people just talk into a camera or something. I actually need guys to come in and be like, well, what about this? What about this? I'm not the king of everyone. I'm just the king of myself. Right. And it doesn't mean I'm a rich king. It doesn't mean I'm a smart king. It doesn't mean, but my rank is king.
And see, and that's the thing is, I do believe rule of law works as well. I just, much like yourself, submit to that higher rule before I would submit to any man's rule. Now, it is fortunate that we have the Constitution.
I think
it's very fortunate.
Is, like an inspired document, because
I could see that.
It came through hardship of what they just looked at what the British were doing to them, and they said, this shit's unacceptable.
Yep.
So
I agree. Yeah. I mean, basically, most of them, not all of them, but most of them were Christian or men of Christian value. I don't necessarily like to call people by isms.
Christian is basically, it's truth, way, life to me. If it's a follower of that, that's a Christian. If it's a follower of having memorabilia or picking new saints to worship or picking new things to claim to be God and stuff, I'm not into that type of shit.
That's
truth.
foolery.
You got to follow the truth.
Yep.
And what's the truth? It's that, bro, it's that people will take advantage if you let them. And so that's why you don't treat these guys like the dry cleaner, where it's like he knows best what to do with your dry cleaning. These guys are these socialists. They don't know what's best to do with your life. So you have to take it into your hands, and you have to know ahead of time. Dude,
Yeah.
I'm surprised they ever got a warrant for this, because I whooped their asses at the farmers market already.
They operate on idolatry. Now there's an arrangement within the scriptures, but it's a family arrangement. And then above that is God Almighty, but they don't see it that way. They see it as a chieftain or a king or a president. That's the way that all these ruler types have always seen it.
The Church
now,
of Man.
Are some,
That's what they call it, Church of Man.
right. Now, there are some within the political system that I do believe are genuine. I believe that they don't necessarily understand what that beast is, but also there are some who do understand it and are truly trying to change it. So there's all
give them
different
an excuse.
walks.
Give them an excuse to dismiss your case with prejudice. And bro, I wouldn't.
Their fortitude will come.
Do it by
Yes.
saying natural law. I would do it by saying
The
the
Constitution.
laws of the
Yeah.
United States,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I agree with
the
that.
judges are bound to it.
And being very careful about that precedented stuff. Yes, I agree with that, because if you do bring up Terry versus Ohio, yes, I feel like that would be foolish. You would obviously want to bring up your rights.
Article
not
6,
Terry
14th
versus-
Amendment.
Let the state try to run that Terry versus Ohio crap,
And then
then
object.
shoot it down with your rights.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
I
and then
think it's a
eventually-
simple matter, because they're going to call it a law, and you're going to object on the basis that it's not law, right? Aren't you?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
See, I only got
You
2
know?
ratings. One of them's me. One of them's...
Yeah, I'll get on there and give you one today. That's fair, because I've read it.
What is that currency? S? I thought my book was $20, but maybe your shipping is included or something.
No, that's weird, man.
Give me a rating.
Yeah, I will. I'm not signed in, and I'm not going to do that right now.
Okay,
I mean,
that's fine.
I will, next time I sign into Amazon.
Yeah, guys, people watching, do me a solid, bro. If you want your kids enslaved, if you want somebody looking in your kid's butt in a dungeon and claiming reasonable, keep doing what the fuck these auditors are doing, okay? Otherwise, you got to get competent on everything you can.
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to the auditors, because they have been out there exposing it. Now you can expose it yourself.
Bro, they're saying some weird shit though, and
Yes,
it
I
doesn't
agree.
make any sense. They're all constant with the case precedent. They're constant with the pretending that state laws are bigger and better than just your federal laws. They're constantly standing under weird stuff like Poster 7. Dude, Poster 7 isn't the law. The law is the Constitution. Poster 7 tries to explain it to you.
Yeah,
You should
it's an
already know
explanation.
it. You should be able to say something simple like freedom of speech and make your point. No explanation needed. Asks you a question. Fifth Amendment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. It
The
should
thing
be
that-
that way.
Yeah, the thing that kills me about Poster 7 is it doesn't matter how many auditors point at the sign and tell the cop to read it. 75 to 90% of those pigs is going to totally ignore that and be like, can we just go outside and talk? Let's go outside and talk. 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 Do you have business here? Do you have business here? Do you have business here? Just like Poster 7. Poster 7.
Well, and
Poster
the auditors
7.
keep failing at these checkpoints that are all the same. You saw
Yeah,
what I
that
did
too,
in my
man.
DMV audit when they asked me to go and talk to them outside. No. I'm not going anywhere with you.
Yeah, right. I don't know you.
They
You're a
asked you to
stranger.
leave. Oh, well, you're not discriminating against me. It's the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Bro, I ended up giving the cops a lawful order to leave, and they obeyed me.
I love it,
It
man.
was a mask refusal is all, you know? And the people thought that the sign that says masks required applied to me. No, that's for you employees. Nobody tells me what I required to wear a mask. What the fuck? That's
So-
insane.
I
Public.
wanted to ask again about the VDOC style policing. I mean, I don't know if
What is
we
it?
actually got into that. VDOC, VIDOCQ. That's the name of the guy.
Oh,
I don't. Can you actually search that up, Doc?
Yeah,
VDOC?
I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking for it.
All right. So this guy, right? He was a French guy who was originally a criminal. Funny thing about that. And then he became a cop. And what he did was he basically said that the policing would be done easier if the investigator was basically the arresting officer at the same time. Now, this was the early 1800s. And then,
the law was already the Fourth Amendment, though.
but no, this was French.
Oh.
France. Yeah. And so the United States started adopting that in the police departments, in the constables and the sheriff's departments for the fugitive laws, because fugitives were treated differently, and that included the slaves. You could actually violate slaves. You could actually violate fugitives with no warrant. I mean, because basically it was already technically warranted. You could just basically grab them. So what they did was they started adopting that within the agencies. And now what you see where the investigator and the arresting officer are the same person, it wasn't like that before VDOC. The arresting officer, right? So the investigator used to need to investigate a crime scene, right? And then he would go to the magistrate, get a warrant, and then go to the arresting officers, say, hey, come with me. And he would take them with him, like 2 or 3 officers, point at the guy, say, that's the guy, take him, here's the warrant.
Yeah.
That's the way it used to be. But now it's not like that.
Well,
And this is where the
it is like
original-
that. It's called due process. Okay, you have to have an accuser, the warrant signed by a judge. It's like that here in America now,
But an
and it always has been.
investigator and a arresting officer was never intended to be the same person.
Either
Because
way,
what-
an officer's only police powers are when they have a warrant signed by a judge telling
let me-
them what they can do.
Let me ask you something. Does an arresting officer have reasonability on the street?
No,
Right.
the reason's a
Then
warrant.
why would he be an investigator?
He's just collecting witness statements and stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
he can't. If he's an investigator, he shouldn't be arresting people. If
Right.
he's an arresting officer, he shouldn't be investigating.
Well,
he is not
If
reasonable.
he's got a warrant, then his job is to serve the warrant. That's first and foremost
That's it. That
his
means
job.
he's the arresting officer. He's not the investigator. The investigator is supposed to be somebody different. So Vidal came up with this style of policing. And what he did was he said, they can be the same person.
Listen.
And they started doing it in France.
But what's the point? We're Americans. We have our laws here. And this doesn't
Right.
apply to us.
They brought that style
No.
of policing
No.
over. And
No.
that's what you see today.
No. The American people accept whatever they're handed. Okay?
Why do
that's what's
police
going on.
officers investigate? Why do police officers
Their job is to take
arrestable-
witness statements, shuffle that paperwork to the judge,
Why?
get the judge's warrant, because a warrant is requiring a sworn statement of damages from a complainant.
Why? Why would a arresting officer have investigatory powers?
He
This
doesn't
is
have
what I'm
power
saying.
unless he has a warrant. There's no
Well,
power.
he has the power to investigate, right?
What is that? That's just asking questions
An
and
officer
writing
on
things
yes.
down.
Why does he have? Why does the arresting officer have investigatory powers?
Who cares? Invoke your rights.
I do.
You just invoke your rights and don't worry about it.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you want to believe it does. Yeah. If you stand on your rights, guess what's going to happen?
What?
You can't beat the ride. Because he's
I
just going to
have not
simply
ever gotten
arrest you.
arrested. I've arrested 25, 30 cops, prosecutors, judges, and I got
Have any of
arrested
them
one time,
ended up
and it
in
wasn't
jail?
in any of those situations.
I'd say that whether or not they're going to end up in prison is a thing that's going to be decided at a later date.
Well, I mean, the truth is, they're all guilty.
Yes,
They
they
can
are.
sue me and try and prove how innocent they are. But everything I've accused them of, they're guilty. I signed a sworn statement. I mean, all we're looking at is more crimes and how much I want to pursue them, which I'm going to pursue them. They're trying to put me in a cage for 10 years. Why, man? There's no one even sitting there like, that guy's the problem.
Anyway, you're right that you should stand on your rights. I just wanted to bring out this little piece of history.
What do you
for
think
guys.
about this, Doc? Actually, gosh, I kind of need to hear what you're going to say. Can you just talk about something else for a minute? I'll be right back.
Okay. Yep. Man, look. I
Yeah, no, I just wanted to bring out the history.
I have a very dim view of France and the French. Okay. And, like
Right.
my mom's side of the family was French Canadian and English. So, I'm kind of going against my my Indian blood, my actual North American indigenous ancestors, but whatever. That's also a lie. The Indians weren't here forever. They walked across the Bering Sea when it was frozen, and then they murdered their way all the way down through Alaska into the lower 48 and through Canada.
Right.
Yeah, so they murdered all the fucking animals, right? Not all of them, but whatever they needed.
Yeah, I mean, people settle regions. That's what they do, and then they move out from there.
Right, but here's my problem with the French. Okay.
Yep.
And they have made contributions to Western civilization, but I'm opposed to civilization in general. Civilization is the fucking problem, man, because what do we got now? We got a bunch of short people. These are all physical traits, okay? And some might say mental as well. They're small. We're getting smaller. We're getting dumber.
Yeah, I've heard that theory.
We have more allergies. More people are sick from the day they're born until the day they die.
Yep. We're becoming more and more imperfect.
Right. Because of civilization. It's because we're in these big giant groups and we just so much bullshit goes on behind the scenes. This is what we're yelling about right now. All this bullshit that goes on behind the scenes, but also behind the scenes, we have the mentally ill are able to get into office, get badges and guns, get driver's licenses. They're able to vote. They're able to work in dangerous jobs like being a fireman or a cop or an airline pilot or whatever. Psychotics. Sociopaths, okay? And then we got schizophrenics, and we got these people that are narcissistic, which is, also, you're pretty much definitely, what is it?
All that shit.
Well, whatever, man. You can say what you want, but we got these people with these mental illnesses getting into these positions of power for a reason. It's because they survived to adulthood, where back in the frontier days, or even before that, they would have fucked with somebody, and somebody would have dealt with them, and there would have been some bleached out bones in the forest one day that some hunters run across, and they go, huh. That's a human skeleton. I wonder what happened. But that person is removed from the fucking board. That doesn't happen anymore because we have civilization protecting all the fucking weaklings and the mentally defective. Period. Look, man, look. Oh, hold on just 1 second. With that in mind, this is why I cannot stand the French 90% of the time. Okay? They got their asses kicked by everyone throughout history. Period. They're weaklings, man. They're weaklings from
We're-
the very first time the
We're just
Vikings
as weak.
invaded.
We're getting
I
our
know.
asses handed to us.
That's what I just got done saying that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
weren't here to hear me say that. But the problem is we have this big umbrella and we let these weak ass people survive, or these people that turn out to be hazards to society.
It's not that it's not our choice. I mean, come on. There's going to be. Look, this is a fundamentally different thing I say from everyone else. Jordan Peterson or one of these guys will say that only 3% of the population, or maybe 0.3 or some shit. I don't remember. Anyways, only like 3% of the population is psychotic. But the truth is, what Milgram found in his authority experiments, where he found that the average man of 50% rate would go ahead and take part in a murder as long as the authority figure said that there was a reason for it and to just continue with the experiment. And that's
that
men.
high, huh?
Bro, that's for men. It was like 2/3 of women. That's why.
Oh, I believe that.
That's
Yeah,
why
no,
it's
that I
so.
believe.
Oh yeah, they're kind. They go along with shit, man. They really do.
Yep. If you find one that doesn't, you want to hold on to
Well,
it.
that's their place is to obey, but it's obeying you. And nowadays, these women look at the government like daddy because daddy's going to pay them. Whenever they get sick of being told
Well,
to clean the
I-
dishes or whatever.
I tie that to emotions with, a lot of people, men and probably and obviously more women are angry, and they're angry because of a couple of different reasons. I tie that to two different types of envy. One of them being the regular kind of envy where it's like they're just vengeful against somebody. But then you've got the envy that says, in their mind, they're saying, why didn't you do things the way that I believe it's right? And that's the type of envy that's the vengeful type of envy that's like, I'm authority. I'm authority to say what's right and what's wrong. And that's the type of envy that's almost like God play right there. And you can't have that. Like, I mean, in the household, right, there's a hierarchy, right? And you have a family structure. And if you go outside of that, I swear it's detrimental every single time.
Yeah, of course it is, because it's not natural, man. It took 100,000 or 200,000 years, or however long Homo sapiens has existed, for us to figure that out.
Oh, and you know what's important, Doc, is that we were playing on hard mode, where our very lives were in jeopardy all the time.
Right. That's my point, bro. That's what I'm saying. Civilization makes weak people. It protects the weak and it promotes the mentally ill.
Well,
the people that are willing to kill someone else because XYZ over here who has a costume on says so. Or has a robe and a bench that he sits on.
So that's where I say it's almost like tantamount to letting another man, or in the case of a woman, letting another woman into your bedroom. Basically, you let them in your house, you let them into your bedroom, and you let them tell you what to do in your bedroom. Basically, at that point, you say, okay, well, you make the rules, you say this or that in my bedroom. Now, if you weren't doing the right thing in your bedroom, then that is a problem. But I can't do anything about that. Like, if you're not doing the right thing in your bedroom, like, that's not my place to go into your bedroom and tell you what to do. And anybody who believes that that's okay for another man to come into your bedroom, like, you're a weakling. Like, you're literally a weakling at that point. You're allowing someone to tell you what to do in your own house. That is wild. But people do it in this country, man. They do it and they do it and they do it.
What's interesting about that is the trans thing used to be seriously conservative because they were against how the government was not treating them with equal stuff. But now they're leftists, and they admittedly with the LGBT, right? So that's kind of a weird thing, is that they used to be like, you don't tell me who I ride in the ambulance with, fuck you, government. And now they're like, oh, now that you say we're okay, then now we're going to agree with you. They
formed up a little group, and now the group tells everybody what to think.
Yep. Yeah, that's the problem, right? It's life. Truth, way, life. Okay? And if you're part of the herd like that, that's not life. That's opposite of life.
No, it's chaos. It's chaos. It's death. It's lies. The opposite of truth, way, and life is lies, chaos, and death.
Well,
truth, way, life.
Yep.
They're all about the people that we're talking about are all about lies, chaos, and death. Because
Well,
in the end,
give 'em
their
an
system
excuse.
is going to kill 2/3 of life on Earth.
Bro, give them an excuse to dismiss your shit.
Well, and another thing, right? This is one of the problems that we have with the political system when we quote unquote hire on our servants. Is the difficulty is finding someone who is not just willing to do what the people say. That's easy to find. Willing to do what the people say. That's easy to find.
Yeah,
but
we see it every day.
But
Yeah.
then, is what the people are saying to do the right thing to do? And that
Probably
person,
not.
whoever's the servant, needs to be able to make that discernment.
No. The judge
The
will
judge, right?
determine
Yeah.
it.
Yep, the judge
Right.
determines it.
Yeah, and obviously the higher ups are appointed.
Well, in theory,
Or
it's an
whatever.
elected judge. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
it doesn't.
different.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, you look at
The
the
fact
Supreme
is
Court;
they're-
those are appointed.
We should find
Yeah.
what the Constitution says about judges in every respect if we want the answer.
And sure, they're confirmed.
Admittedly, it's been a
too,
long time
so-
since I sat and read all
It's a
through the
difficult
articles
process.
too. No, it's not. It's 2 pages or something. But
No, I'm saying the process of the judges, like appointing them, it's actually a very arduous process. They're supposed to go through like the senatorial approval or
Supreme
whatever.
Court, yeah, and then there's different probably regulations.
And the
I
circuit
don't know
court
what it
judges,
all
too.
is.
Yep. Listen,
The president, you're saying the president appoints? Oh,
Well, yeah, the president appoints them, but the Senate has to approve. It's a
Oh, right,
process. They have to actually,
but not for district.
confirm them.
District court, those are elected by the locals. I'm
Right. The
almost
state,
sure.
yes, the state districts are elected, and then you've got the county, which are elected, and that sort of thing. But when you get to the federal courts, that's where they're actually appointed, and when they're appointed, there's a process for it.
Well, they're bound to the law no matter what their
Right.
politics are.
And then go back to the part supposed to be.
Well,
I wish.
well,
I
if they
wish.
take
You gotta be the
an
one.
oath, if they take an oath and they break it, that's a crime. That's a crime.
That is a crime. That is, yeah.
Right. And if they break it in specific ways, then,
But then you got to be able to prosecute them. And now here's another interesting factor: is they have their court bailiffs who are basically the thugs for
Yeah.
their little court system.
but-
They're not even really supposed to have all that like that, but they do.
well, the man's taken an oath, and his oath did not include following judicial orders.
How does a court appointed official have executive officers
He doesn't.
underneath him?
He doesn't. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
those
the problem.
bailiffs aren't supposed to be there.
Yeah. Well, they can be there, but they don't work for the judge.
Right. They're not there. Well, and it's funny because, the officers on the street will tell you that they have no obligation to protect you. Well, why do they have any obligation to protect the judge? But they do, don't they?
Well, they probably wouldn't do that either. Like in Uvalde, who
That's a
knows if
good
that's
point.
even true?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I highly doubt that any officer will really truly stand in front of a judge to make sure that nothing happens to him while he's in the courtroom. Now,
Yeah,
if he has the
no fucking
opportunity,
way.
Regardless
if he
of-
has the opportunity to take the individual out, he will.
You gotta
but he's not
realize-
going to stand in front of the judge.
regardless of what Castle Rock v. Gonzalez says, it doesn't matter because the law is that he took an oath to the laws of the land and the state laws, but the laws of the land say that state laws cannot contradict federal laws. So that's things like traffic, drug war stuff, it's stupid shit, filming in public or whatever. That's all just stupid nonsense that violates your rights. Whereas a burglary or something like that is a real crime with an actual victim. Therefore, you can get a warrant to seize them. But the government needs to get that warrant. Even if they see it, they don't understand what's happening. You don't know the difference between a lawful execution and a murder. You don't know the difference between a homeowner carrying a TV out and a thief carrying a TV out. You don't know the difference until you have a sworn statement where a complainant, warrants could be accumulated within 5 minutes, but they
I was just
don't
gonna
do
say,
it.
we got technology, like today's day and age, 2024.
Right, the
How
phone
do
call-
we not have the ability to send a stinking warrant?
Bro,
like,
the phone
that's
call
crazy.
could be a sworn statement, right?
Like
They
the
could
facsimile
they could
on the
the
in the police
dispatcher.
car. Yeah.
Yeah, the dispatcher could say, "Hey, under sworn statement, penalty of perjury, can you
Yeah.
just affirm for us that a crime is being committed by
Yep.
John or whatever?" And that crime being, what is that crime, right? And then that way, we could already have this warrant thing working its way out by the time the cops even
Yep.
showed up, as
Yep.
long as we've got a sworn statement. Because, bro, women are claiming things all the time, and honestly,
yeah.
they're guilty of crimes like perjury when they lie
Yep.
about stuff like this, but they get off with it basically every single time. The cops
Yep.
show up and try and protect the woman, and the woman is basically married to the government already and gets checks from the government, and as opposed to
that's funny you say that. So here's another question, kind of a interesting way to look at things. When does court begin? When that officer approaches you, right? That's when
Well,
the court begins.
really, it's when both sides say that they're ready.
Well, if an officer is approaching you on the street and he's about to ask you a question, right? He hasn't quite gotten there yet, but then he starts to ask you that question. Now, at that point, court has begun, right?
No.
If you have to invoke your rights, right, then that's when court has begun.
Well, this
That's
isn't
it.
a judge, so how can this be a court?
Well, how? Because when he begins to approach you, that right there, in of itself, he's the officer. He's
Well,
the sworn officer. He is the public.
this
He's
is-
coming to you. He's the court.
This is
The
a
beginning of
semantical type of argument where
Yeah,
you're
it
wanting to
is.
define
It
something
is.
as something.
I'm just
and then-
saying, be careful because
What it is
that
this.
officer,
No,
his sworn affirmation.
he doesn't have a sworn affirmation of a crime. He's not a complainant. He's the state.
He can.
No,
He's got the investigatory power.
No. Cops will be witnesses, not complainants. Witnesses.
That's right.
So, so if a complainant says
Investigatory power, bro.
no,
He can do that. Yeah.
investigatory power, you're going to
Yeah.
have to cite a law for that, and it's going to have to fall above the Fourth Amendment. So
Which it never will.
Well, what do they always say? I'm investigating, right? They
it's
always
not
say,
Good for
about
you,
what they
investigate.
do. It's about what you do, and that you have to pass your citizenship test right now. So first off, I
That's
don't
right.
answer questions, and then the guy's going to
Starting
start
now.
bothering
That's
you.
right.
He's going to start bothering you, right? He's going to be like, "You give me your ID or something." You can continue to invoke your rights, Fourth Amendment, or you know what else you can do? Hey, you're creating a disturbance here. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. That's called a lawful order. You're trespassing the man from the area, and that holds. That's a lawful trespass. So even if the courts
is it
deny
lawful if it's in public?
well, if he's disturbing you, then yeah, you can trespass him from public.
No, I'm saying if he tells you to leave from the public area,
No,
is that lawful?
no, I'm going to tell
Right.
him to leave.
Right.
Yeah, you can't be trespassed. They say, well, if you commit a crime, you can't be. No, you can't get trespassed from it.
Right. The crime in of itself is a crime. You
No,
don't need to
he's
trespass at that
trespassing
point.
because
why
yes,
trespass someone if they've got a crime already?
Well, I'm
committed?
giving him a lawful
It's
order.
crazy.
I'm giving him a lawful order to leave because he's committed a crime.
Yeah,
Okay.
get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, the officer. Yeah, I got you.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's where I was. That's where I was kind of going with it, because when you look at it from the perspective of if the officer does have any intent of possibly bringing some charges against you,
No, he doesn't
the
even
very
have the
first
option.
place, the very first place to begin your defense is right there, right then and there. Invoke your rights.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Or just
Absolutely.
start giving him lawful orders. Bro, either
That
he's
too.
got a right to be
Yeah.
there, it's called a warrant. That's the reason. Or else he doesn't, and he's just bothering you. So when you ask him to leave,
Well,
That's
you can
you're
ask him
making
to
it-
leave you alone.
you're making a legal
He doesn't
command.
have to leave the area
Yeah, he does.
either.
If he's committing a crime here, you can trespass
If
him from
he's
public.
if that's his beat, If that's
No.
his beat,
That's your
then he's
city. It's your
lawfully supposed to be there.
No, he's not.
That's
The
literally his
warrant
beat.
is going to prove if he's got a right to be there. It's going
You
to
know what I'm
say
saying?
it's going
There's-
to. He'll have
There's the
powers.
constable.
Yeah, they have no
The
power.
constable walking the beat, right?
They don't have any power at all. They don't determine probable cause.
Wait, you're saying that officers don't have any power at all?
That's right.
Executive officers who make arrests have absolutely no
No,
power.
if you have an arrest warrant, then now you have police powers to arrest that person. You don't have police powers to go punch his neighbor. Just to arrest the person that says on the warrant, arrest.
Do they have citizens arrest powers?
Well,
Does an
this is
officer have citizen arrest powers?
They'd have to leave their capacity as officer and take a citizen. Like, for instance, there was just a cop that shot a woman for holding a pot of water.
Sure.
And he did that under citizen authority, not state
No,
authority.
he did that under tyrannical authority.
Well, yeah. But right or wrong, it was his own.
He did that as a.
It was his own thing that he was
I don't even
doing.
wanna call
He didn't
him-
have a right to show up and shoot her because there'd be a warrant that says
case right there
kill.
pisses me off. Something
Well,
serious.
he got
right?
charged with
So-
murder, and that's because at some
I'd
point
like
the
to-
prosecutor
I'd like
understood.
to go with I'd like to go with a simpler case. I just want to go with something simple like.
Well, that's a great case. Listen, at some point there was a prosecutor. Just listen to me. At some point there was a prosecutor that understood that this man didn't have police powers to execute the woman. Okay, so that's perfect.
Yeah,
because
that guy's just a killer.
now he's not
That guy's
protected
just a
under
killer.
the state. He can be charged.
That's a very poor example of what I'm trying to get to here. That right there, that guy was supposed to be there to investigate whether something else was occurring. He went into her home and killed her. That guy's a killer. That's just what he is. Right? He's a killer.
Right,
He's
but
always
as a
been
citizen,
a killer.
not as a state agent, though. You don't agree with that. That's the point.
As a
Citizens-
human being,
he made a
human
citizen-
being, he became a monster.
Yeah, but
I
he
don't
made
care
a,
about the citizen crap at that point.
Well,
I don't
that's
even
what-
care about that.
that's what we're talking about, is the
I
legal-
think that the man should be 12 feet under, and beaten within an inch of his life before we put him 12 feet under. We should bury him alive after we beat him senseless. That's what I believe.
based
Well,
on
that would be
the laws
that would be
that I'm
cruel and
talking
unusual
about.
punishment.
Not
You
at
know,
this point. Not at this point. I don't believe so.
For the
But
government
that's
to
my
do it,
vengeance.
it would be.
I'm just
Yeah,
a man.
For,
Right, but vengeance is a crime of anger. So
Yeah.
calm down.
Yeah.
If a citizen
That,
did it,
that case right there pisses me off, and that's why I don't really want to go into that
Well,
case.
you
That's
gotta
like
get a hold of yourself,
that's a tantamount to going into the case about Anthony Allegheny Jr.
Oh,
or
yeah,
James
yeah.
Sheets,
I'm
or
not sure
one of these
about
other
Sheets,
cases.
Ronald Green.
You know who Christopher Sider was?
Can you spell that last name?
is this
Cider.
going to be relevant to our
SEI.
conversation? Or
DER. Yeah. Christopher Sider is the shot heard around the world. At the Boston Massacre, he was like 14 years old. That boy,
I don't know.
He was the kid who got shot. That was the shot heard around the world. That boy, the very first shot.
Yeah, right. At on the Boston Common.
Yep. That
Yeah.
kid. He was a kid.
Yeah.
It's the
He was
kind
12
of rage.
Yeah, he was 12 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, 12.
get a
Yeah.
hold of yourselves, guys.
A kid.
You don't
A
know
kid,
anything about
right?
this situation. You just heard some shit on the TV, and you're
What?
like freaking out about it.
Well, no,
dude, this is
what
the-
I'm telling
We're
you
talking
right
about
now.
the Boston Massacre on the Common.
I don't know anything
Yeah,
about it.
what I'm telling you right now is when I
1775.
see
Oh.
when I see a police officer or a red coat, a turncoat who kills someone out of tyrannical power, it's not some little trespassing thing to me. This is a monster
Yeah.
we're talking about. It is not the same thing as some police officer telling you that you're trespassed off of a property. This is a killer. This is a monster. This is one of those Viking type people. You saw the tattoo, right? You saw the tattoo on his arm?
I think that was the wrong cop.
No,
That-
he thinks he's a
No.
he thinks he's a Viking.
No, that guy
He
tried
thinks
to
he-
get her medical aid.
Yeah.
It was the guy
He
that
thinks
wasn't
he's a
wearing.
Viking. Yeah, they're
So what?
they're losers.
Well, yeah, they're
tyrants and they're
socialists.
losers.
Well, they're socialists.
These are the same types of cops that go and bust into people's houses and kill them.
Yeah.
This is a monster. This is not the type of cop that's just a constable
right,
walking
dude.
the beat.
All right. That's enough.
It's a different
That's
type
enough.
of cop.
Can we not talk about that? Look, if you
Yeah,
don't
you know what?
understand that
I
it's
think
all socialists, then you're missing the mark.
Yeah, it's all
Bro,
socialist,
these people
but
got where they're at because they don't want to work. They just want to collect money. They violate their oath literally
Well,
daily.
I don't see it that way. I
Yeah,
see that
no, that's the
some
fact.
kids,
They're
20, 21,
socialists.
22-year-old boys who go into the agency believing that they're going to be doing a good thing are not the same as a 40 and 50-year-old cop who's a killer, a monster. Who created this system. These 40, 50, 60-year-old cops are not the same
Yeah.
as these 20,
The
21,
problem is all
22-year-olds
socialism.
that we need to make the changes for as the 40, 50, 60-year-olds who know the system and have seen it. We need to make sure that those boys who are going into the
Bro,
system,
would you stop?
we
Seriously,
can change
you're
that.
boring the hell out of me. My channel's
Well, I'm
all
sorry
about
I'm boring
solutions.
the
all
hell
right,
out of you, dude.
that's
Now you're
it. You
being
know
a
what?
little fucking
all right,
bitch.
all right. Hold on.
Bro, I'm out.
My
Yeah,
channel's
you
all
just
about
can't
solutions.
take any kind of heat, man, at all. You
Dude,
know what?
There's
Get
other
the fuck out of my chat, man.
There's
Seriously,
other places
bro. Like,
where they just
what
sit
the
and
hell?
cry about shit all goddamn
We're
day.
not gonna yell anymore about this, man. You know, look.
Here, Doc, let
Why
me
does-
respond.
why
Just
is it-
stop, okay? I'm the one that confronted him. I need to finish what I was saying. So,
Go ahead.
bro, we don't just sit around and cry here. Make a citizen's arrest. Don't be nebulously like, that's a monster. That's a monster. How many cops have you arrested? How many cops have you pressed charges on? They commit crimes every time you see them. So how many of you, dude? I mean, what do you want that you're just so unwilling to go for? My channel's about solutions. Do a citizen's arrest. Recognize them as not this nebulous monster thing. These are men that fell into bad choices because of socialism.
That's right. They became
into
socialists.
playing
They
on their
became
fucking
socialists.
phone and getting paid for it and
That's
obeying.
right.
And now they get paid to obey. And because we're not holding anyone accountable, because they
Yeah.
can show up and say, Terry,
They're allowed to thrive.
like, I want you to understand the difference between the way that I'm talking to you right now and the way
Get the
that
fuck
you're.
out of my chat, man. Fucking Jonesy, you're done.
It's not that he's done. We can relax about it, but it's
No,
not.
I'm tired of him coming in
Dude.
here and yelling, dude. There's no need for it.
It's not about sitting and bitching about it. It's about having solutions, invoking your rights. Everyone wants to pretend like someone's supposed to swoop in and be like, doesn't he have a right to this or that? It's like, dude, we all have our part to take in it, and the people aren't doing it. That's the problem. Blaming these people that become nonsense at 50 only gets you so far. You need to start holding them accountable. It needs to be about, if you have a trial, you're not just a victim, you're going to win.
You're a complainant. You're a complainant. Become a complainant.
Become a complainant. Always become a complainant. It's not dude, sitting back and being like emotionally frustrated over these events that you have nothing to do with. Bro, that lady, she was fucked up. She's probably on pills. So she's the type of person that goes to her doctor and gets prescribed any nonsense, and then she takes it. And now we just have to deal with her nonsense. She was so fucked up. Like, dude, she wasn't even really making sense. And then the cops, yeah, they don't do their part necessarily. Is it because they're monsters? Yeah. But the thing
Yeah,
is,
they're-
what do you do
right,
to
they're-
keep that from happening next time? First off, bro, if he knew something about, like, you know, his right not to, he doesn't have a right to seize someone just all willy-nilly like people seem to think.
They didn't have a right to go in that woman's house in the first fucking place, man.
Yeah, and then
when
it
she
wasn't a
retreated,
deadly
they should
threat
have left.
anyway.
Yeah,
Deadly force
when
on
she
something
retreated,
that's not a
they should
deadly
have
threat
left.
is a it's considered a crime, which, you're supposed to do proportional force or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that cop had no right to. Yeah, what's the matter? Use it. Look, I'm done with Jonesy. I may, I may untime him some other time.
On and on.
Yeah,
and it was just like, dude, why is it that all of these sentences you're using, you keep claiming that there's a fucking point, but it's just not happening? Like, dude, every sentence, I'm like, either a Sixth Amendment confrontation clause, Fourth Amendment right not to be seized without a warrant. Oh, reasonable. No, the reason's a warrant. Bro, the reason I talk like that is because everyone we listen to is a fucking gibberish machine. And you're having symptoms of it where you're just wanting to go on and on about your fucking emotions. It's like, dude, you got that way probably from all these female teachers in these socialist camps. Seriously, because we hear their kind talk, and they'll do it for 80 years in a row. And now boys have been raised up in it, and they're thinking that it's like legit or something to just fucking blah, 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 blah. My emotions this, my emotions that. It's like, dude, that shit doesn't fly with men. I don't know who the fuck told you that shit was okay, but.
Yeah, well, anyway, the result was my fault because I thought 20 minutes ago, man, this is a good show. We should just call it now. But, you guys kept going.
Let's show you what's important because, guys, people are still spreading legal information from, what was that dude's name that was shot in his yard by the cops? And people always share him like he's some legal eagle. And all of his content is like, oh, the sea and your currency.
You're talking about Jordan something,
Maxwell,
right?
Or something. Is that
it?
Jordan
Maxwell. Yeah.
Your currency going out to the sea, and it's gold French flag, and that's because of this or that. But by the end of it, you've learned a bunch of goddamn gibberish, and nothing is going to help you in court. That's what all these other subset type channels are doing. I don't know why they love that obscure nonsense so much. But, bro, come on. If it takes you fucking 4 paragraphs, it's because you're not making a fucking point. I mean, shit, dude. The public education is so bad at this point that people would just fucking spout gibberish forever. And I have a very low tolerance for it. I don't know if you can tell.
Well, yeah, it's obvious. I don't either, man. But look, the fact of the matter is, when we start getting angry because we're other emotions, that's man, you got to work on that, bro. You got to work on that. Not you, but I'm saying in general.
He just needs to basically be like, do I have a fucking point real quick? Because we're live and stuff. The point of this channel isn't to just sit around and fucking jibber jabber. It's not dude, there's a point here. I know that you guys watch these other auditing channels and there's no point. I get it. But like this, that's not what we're doing. There's a point to what we're doing. We're talking about citizens' arrest. Right now, they've got me attacked over a state law that's null and void. So
yeah,
we're
they
talking
attacked
about
you,
that.
They kidnapped you. Yeah.
Yeah, they committed a bunch of crimes against
cage.
me. They took part in war against me. And they think it's legitimate to just tell me what my religion needs to be. Oh, you can sit around and chant all you want. Oh, but just that and everything else is illegal and you're the victim? Is that what it is? Okay? Every sentence means something. Like, dude, you've listened to enough fucking nonsense machines throughout your life. You really have. They're everywhere.
Right. We don't need more of it. We don't need more of it. I like talking nonsense about things like Yosemite or Bigfoot or UFOs or whatever, but this shit is deadly serious. There's no time for nonsense when you're talking about the law and dealing with these fucking criminals, man. They're criminals. The whole system. When they say criminal justice system, that couldn't be more true. It couldn't be more true. It is criminal. Just like what Interpol, the criminal organization of whatever. It's a global criminal police organization. Perfect wording. Perfect. They're fucking criminals. We have to be on point or be dead. or thrown in a cage or whatever.
You can cry
You gotta-
about it
you gotta
for
be on
100
point.
more years, and nothing's going to
Yeah,
happen.
you don't have to be.
You
You
gotta
don't have
start
to be an
using
asshole.
the right words, though, for one thing.
That's right.
It's socialists. Dude, don't try and separate them into this is a different socialist, this is a different socialist, this is... No, dude. They're on a team that we're not on because we're paying their bills. Okay? And what is that? That's a Third Amendment violation when we quarter them. We pay their fucking rent, don't we? So we're quartering them.
Right. Yeah, we could
We
argue
pay their
that. Yeah,
food.
we could argue that for sure.
We're definitely
I mean,
quartering them.
Yeah,
And-
we're supporting them. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And
There's
it's
an
a
argument for that.
left-wing, it's a radical left-wing organization. So it's a political organization, essentially. Socialism. You got to use the right words. You can't be just screwing around, like making your own little moral calls about what's going on or something. Like, dude, it's a group of people. They're not capitalist Americans, which America is a capitalist nation. I think maybe people forget about that. Or, you know what I think does it is that they hear socialism and they think about,
What can I get from it? That's what
well,
they think.
that's what rich people know. That's how you get rich. But
Well, yeah,
as
you
far
get-
as
yeah,
regular
right.
people, they're so fucking dumb. They don't even realize that people are out there gaming the system or anything. They just don't get it. They think it's like, oh, this guy's morality is this or that or something like that. No,
No, they're not. They're gaming the system. I could name
well, the
several
rich
of them.
people are gaming the system. The poor people,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Right. The poor people, they always say, oh, it's the welfare jockeys. And yeah, the ones that live in mansions and fly on their private planes and have yachts and homes in the Bahamas. Those are the welfare fucking abusers right there. Those are the real welfare jockeys. Not the black lady sitting on her front porch smoking a blunt. She's not the fucking enemy. She's just
she's certainly the minor.
she's a minor
the
player. Yeah.
societal
She's a tick.
recovery of some problem that we have, right? And
Yeah.
and that is a minor expense versus, when Boeing gets a $10 trillion contract and their executives all get paid because they've been out drinking with the, I don't know, general or some shit. Who
Yeah,
knows?
they're all hanging out at the same fucking country clubs. It's just us system, which is also, probably the main subject of the book Treason, written by Kennedy Walker, who is this guy right here.
Yeah, I tried to keep it all on topic with that book. Kind of like what I do, like what I just did with him. Where it's just like, dude, we can cry about this shit forever, but it's like, we need solutions. And I'm the only one that's even talking any sense about the law. Because I'm the only one that talks about Article 6. Who else does? I mean, you do, but... who else is even talking about what is the supreme law of the land? Everyone else is trying to make it up as they go and pretend that.
Well, there's a guy, I'm going to have to look through my history. I'll send you a link. And I watched him this morning. He just randomly came up in my feed, and like 30 seconds into this short video, I think it was 10 minutes or something, he said supremacy clause. And I was like, wait, what? I was like in the other room doing something. I ran back in and I rewinded it when I heard him say that. I was like, okay, somebody else actually knows about it and has the fucking balls and the words to say it online. Who the fuck else is doing it but us? Nobody, because they don't understand the rules of English. The subject of that fucking article is the Constitution. It's on top of everything else. The sentence structure confirms it over and over again. There's nothing in there that is ambiguous. There's no ambiguity in it. And I can guarantee you that there were fistfights over the supremacy clause, over Article 6. I guarantee you that they were they were hard
actually,
words.
I think that the Articles of Confederation had a strong state government. And so when that failed almost immediately, because everyone's printing their own money and they've all got setting their own tariffs for coming into
it didn't make any sense.
state, and that was
no
violating
sense.
people's Fourth Amendment right not to be searched or seized, right? Because now that you changed the tariff or whatever, now you've got to have a checkpoint where you're checking people's shit, right? so it failed basically immediately, and it's because
Sure it
of a
did.
strong state government, and so that's why our Constitution was drafted and the United States of America was created
Was created, right? So we didn't have to be under one king
with
and
just 13
get our
colonies,
butt-
right?
Yeah, right. It started with 13, sure, and then
And then
new ones came in with the
People
Louisiana
applied to
Purchase,
join
and
because it's a consensual thing. And that's why
Right.
crying about it is so nonsensical. You want the Constitution. People are like, I'm not subject to the Constitution. That means I'm a subject. No, it means you're the king, and this shit guarantees it.
All right, man. Listen, we're going to wrap it up because Bricks went crying to Let's, and he just keeps coming back in the chat with new accounts. I don't appreciate that kind of behavior, man. Everything was going fucking great, and then you had to start yelling. So, goodbye, bye. I don't want to be, entertaining that sort of shit. Yeah, we can disagree, man, but as far as yelling and stuff, no. I thought we understood that we weren't going to do that, my man, Mr. Brick, Jonesy. All right, listen, Kennedy, it's been a great show, but I'm fed the fuck up with this chat over here. I think that we covered everything we needed to cover. I think that, your chat GPT thing is working out well, and you're teaching it about the supremacy clause. So maybe some other people will start seeing it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what it is,
Right,
is
like-
you got to tell it every time what, it's going to respond to you, and you're going to, it does the same thing the cops do with you, actually, where you have to be competent enough that you can actually make a point.
Right, exactly.
Which
And
is
we
the
don't do
trouble
it by
for
getting
Americans
angry.
these days. Yeah,
We get in our feels and we start shooting off our mouths stupidly, or we forget where we're going. And that's, man, yeah. It was a great show, man, either one way or another.
I think that people need to see more conflict and resolution, and dude, hear a side and make a choice, and yeah, great show, man. Thanks,
Yep.
guys.
All right, man. Listen, I'll talk to you after we go off the live.
Okay.
Okay, you guys. Jonesy, you're timed out for this one, man. Don't come back with that same fucked up sideways attitude. And we're not doing any ad hominems, so shame on you. Stream over.